Welcome to Right on the Edge. And, well, after Fordlandia, I figured why not do something else? I kind of I'm interested in everything, you know? So in this case, it's geopolitics. And according to this guy, Saskatchewan and Alberta just made a huge separation announcement. Now let's see if it's really huge or if, like, I suspect, it's just a big nothing burger, right? I think it's a big nothing burger.
It's me, Dr. Steve, your back porch professor, here to help you make sense of a rapidly changing world. And my, is it ever changing, particularly in the great
It is changing. It is probably rapidly changing. You have a good view, sir.
white north? Saskatchewan and Alberta just dropped a nuclear announcement that could literally split Canada in half. I want to talk to you about this because this is huge, literally. While we were all sleeping, these two provinces united in a way that hasn't happened since Canadian Confederation, and they're not asking Ottawa for permission anymore.
From my understanding, is that they have balancing taxes where for some reason, and it's not like federal taxes where everybody pays into the federal and then the federal dishes it out like we have here in America. But what they have is, like, because certain um, provinces or whatever the hell they call those things up there, like Alberta, make more, they are for some reason obligated to give more to, like, places like Ottawa that perform actively worse in economics. Now, obviously, I don't know about it, but that's the gist of it.
Now, make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video because this isn't just about Wexit or the very possible secession of Western Canada from Ottawa. This is about a very real political.
I do have a few Canadian friends, and the younger ones don't have the same perspective as the ones that are my age. My buddy lives in Prince George, and due to changing laws and over-regulation, it's actually destroyed the industries that are up there. The biggest one being logging, and I want to say the second biggest one is something to do with oil. And due to all the regulations passed by the government and the taxes performed, farmers are going bankrupt. The logging industry can only log for X amount of time before they hit this quota that the government puts on them, and there's nothing they can do about it, right? So, like, her brothers and people that she knows are regularly getting laid off with little to no warning.
Phenomenon that's toppled governments throughout history, and it's happening right now in our very backyards. So here's what actually happened that the legacy media is more or less burying. On June 18th, the government caucuses of Alberta and Saskatchewan met in Lloydminster in Alberta for the first time in Canadian history as a unified political force. So this wasn't just a friendly chat between two premiers. This was a strategic alliance with one clear message to Ottawa: enough is enough. Now, Albertan Premier Danielle Smith and Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe both made it absolutely clear that their two provinces, which have a combined population of nearly 6 million and who control 75% of Canada's oil production, are absolutely united.
Yeah, and as they would be, right? They do most of the heavy lifting for Canada's economy, and yet they're treated almost like second-class citizens due to population disparity
In standing up for their
and wealth disparity, which is,
own citizens as over and against the dismissive entitlement mentality of Ottawa. So if you don't know, Alberta in particular, it's not just another Canadian
and I'm guessing this guy's leaning towards the separatist movement as well.
province. It's an economic superpower. I mean, with a GDP of nearly $340 billion, Alberta single-handedly generates 14% of Canada's entire economic output, while housing only 11% of its population. Alberta produces 4.2 million barrels of oil per day.
And you wonder why they're angry when their needs aren't being met by their government, you know?
That's 1.5 billion barrels annually. To put that in percent, that's more oil than most OPEC nations produce. Alberta's energy sector alone contributes over $70 billion to Canada's GDP. Without Alberta, the federal government in Ottawa would face a near $20 billion shortfall every single year. Alberta is the golden goose of the Great White North. But, and here's where it gets absolutely infuriating for Albertans, over the last decade, Alberta sent nearly $250 billion more to Ottawa than it received back in federal spending. $250 billion more than they received back. Meanwhile, Quebec receives $13.2 billion in what's called equalization payments. So these are
Yeah, there you go. Equalization payments. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
basically subsidies that allow all Canadian provinces to provide comparable public services at similar tax levels, despite differences in their fiscal capacity. But despite Quebec getting an inordinate amount of money in equalization payments, Quebec continues to block Alberta's pipelines while living off of Alberta's wealth.
Yeah, yeah, I heard about that too. Blocking the pipelines into the United States, blocking pipelines just into other provinces. And they also have a lot of issues with just how they do politics in general. They're always trying to consider the First Nations this, First Nations that. And so they're always having to fight like an upward battle against, I guess, native tribes up there. That's actively hindering the economy, and it's blown up in such a way where even 20 years ago, with what I know of Canada, you wouldn't have seen these same arguments. Like it was more like, hey, we're trying to be respectful, but we still have to be a successful country. And now it's more like, well, if they say we can't do it and we try to do it, we're evil in some way.
So, put simply, Alberta is subsidizing the entire Canadian Confederation. And Saskatchewan and Alberta are culturally very, very similar. And so, the timing of this alliance is no coincidence. You may have heard, but Alberta is moving forward with an independence referendum for 2026. They just lowered the referendum threshold from 640.
I heard that Carney tried to say like they can't do that or something like that. I was like, who's going to stop them? You know, if they just cut you off.
1,000 signatures to 177,000. So it's guaranteed to be on the ballot in just months from now. The Alberta Prosperity Project claims they've already gathered near 250,000 signatures online. The referendum question is ready. Do you agree that the province of Alberta should become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada? Yes or no? Now, at the same time, Saskatchewan is also working on their own referendum. They require 125,000 signatures for their referendum, the Unified Grassroots Petition. Thus far, they've collected 3,000 signatures, but it's growing every day. And Premier Moe has publicly stated he would not stand in the way of an independence vote. The polling numbers are pretty stunning. 36% of Albertans want separation. 34% of Saskatchewanians support separation.
Put that in perspective, like the American Revolution happened over 3% of people.
And there's a lot of time to convince the other 10, 15% or so needed for a majority support. Now, here's the part that will blow your mind. What we're witnessing here isn't just politics. It's a textbook example of what's often referred to as social identity theory. And this theory provides a compelling explanation for why provinces and territories pursue secession. Now, according to social identity theory, people naturally categorize themselves and others into social groups based on shared characteristics like ethnicity, nationality, religion, regional identity. And once individuals identify with a group, they undergo three key psychological processes that can lead to secessionist movements. One is known as social categorization, where people classify themselves as belonging to.
So instead of saying I'm a Canadian, they'll begin to say, no, I'm Albertan, right? We have states like that here in the United States that do that. Like Texans, for instance, Texans are Texans first. They're Americans second. Let's be very clear, right? Don't get me wrong, most Texans are proud to be American, but if you had to ask them to choose, they'd be like, I'm a Texan.
Distinct groups, in this case, Albertans and Saskatchewanians versus Central Canadians or Ottawans.
I think you Scandinavians. I think you guys should be called like Scatchies or something, bro. Like make it a little easier so it's catchy.
and so on. And this creates an us versus them mentality that becomes fundamental to how they understand their place inside Canada. Secondly, there's what's called social identity. And this is where individuals adopt the norms, values, and behaviors of their regional group. So in this case, right, or New Haven Pizza versus on this channel is this massive around two main competing.
All right. So not quite a nothing burger, but he was just talking about the referendums that had been put on place. I was wondering if there was something new. Doesn't look like it, but it's still very interesting. Give Dr. Steve Turley a like. Seems like a cool guy. And yeah, man, like the world's changing faster than ever. And I think what's happening is that due to whatever it is, polarization of ideals, polarization of like moral values, and the gap in between these things is getting bigger and bigger. And so many times the people footing the bill in a lot of places seem to be getting the short end of the stick when it comes to representation. And taxation without representation is one of the reasons why America became its own country to separate from England. And it's because hey, we're paying taxes, but we have no say in what choices you're making. We didn't even get a vote on the taxes and stuff like that. And it seems like with the equalization payments and stuff like that, Albertans and other countries, like even I know a lot of British Columbians that feel the same way about this. But very interesting video. I just, man, I love learning about this stuff. I'm not sure if you guys do as well. And by you guys, I mean the average of 4.5 people that look at this. But hey, regardless of how many people look at this or don't look at this, I hope you have a great day and take it easy.